$100 on my wrist, $80 on my wrist.
He's 16. He's supposed to be a junior in high school or a sophomore in high school.
What's D-Rose?
D-Rose, Derrick Rose, a basketball player. $100 on my wrist, but fair like D-Rose, Pop Vozan, Superman.
Okay, he's 16. Wonder what his mom thinks about this. I F your B, and he's smoking weed on camera. Is he white or black? I can't even tell.
I think he's Mexican. What's your opinion on the first song, Ma?
I'm not sure I get what's so impressive. Like, for some reason, D-Rose. Like, I can say that. D-Rose. 100 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist, 100 on my wrist. 100 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist, 100 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist, 100 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist, 100 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist. D-Rose. 80 on my wrist, 80 on my wrist, 100 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 on my wrist. D-Rose. And what does that mean? 80 on my wrist.
100,000 on his wrist, 80,000 on his wrist, 100,000.
What does on your wrist mean?
Jewelry.
Oh, you have 100,000 on your wrist? He didn't know. He didn't have 100,000 on his wrist.
You calling him out?
Well, I mean, he's saying it. I mean, is he saying D-Rose has 100 on his wrist?
No, he does. Alright, this video...
No, he doesn't. No,
yeah, he does. He's making bread. He's selling out shows.
Okay, so he can have 100,000 on his wrist.
Probably, if he wanted to.
Okay, well.
Alright, this one's a little bit more, like, fun and shit.
Are you being serious right now?
What?
Like, that was a serious song just now?
Yeah, starting
I
now.
don't know, D-Rose.
Colbin is so good. Doesn't it look tight?
Yeah, it does. I've always liked that little sketch thing.
Kitchen.
Oh, he's got braces on, no child. Okay. I mean, the beat's not bad, but something looks like glue. To be acting like that when he's 16, it's a bit much.
What do you mean? That's...
He's running around with a gun in his hand talking about little bees and all of this stuff.
So?
He's 16, man. He shouldn't be...
That's how it is out here, alright?
Behaving like that. I mean, this song was okay. It's just... I mean, I thought it was a good song. You know, it had a good little beat to it. The second one. The first one was pretty elementary. D-Rose.
He has a song called Elementary, actually, that we're about to listen to.
Oh.
This is when This is when he was like just starting to come up. Like this is 7 months ago.
Was he in school then?
No.
No.
That's Smoke Perp in the back. We're doing him too after this.
Smoke Perp.
Elementary.
The lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's fine. It's not fine.
They do Zans. They do lean everything.
Oh, that's bad. So bad. I didn't know they did that many drugs. That's bad. He's such a young guy. Why doesn't he just stop that?
What do you mean?
If he just, why do you ask me what do I mean?
Stop what?
Stop with the lean and the Zans and all of that. That is just bad.
When I take drugs, I go to the moon. Yeah, moon. Little spoiled bitch, 2,000 on shoes. Shoes.